Hello everyone. So today I am filming on my iPhone instead of with my camera. So if you see me looking to the side, it's because it is really hard not to check the video to see if it's recording properly. Today's pretty casual. It's a Saturday when I'm filming this. I'm sporting my Star Wars shirt that I think I've worn the majority of the time we've been told to stay inside. But today I thought it would be kind of cool to tell you guys what I am reading right now. So just a little bit of a disclaimer. A lot of people find it very odd the way that I read because I do read a lot of books at the same time. Like a lot. And so a lot of people find that to be hard to grasp, hard to understand, and they don't know why I do it. I've tried to change it, I can't, and so this is just what I do. So I'm gonna start. I have the books stacked here behind me, and I have quite a few to talk about, but I'm going to start with the ones that I actually have on my iPad, which is where I read a lot of books right now because I use Scribd or Scribed, however you say it, to read a lot of books that I would usually get from the library, since right now we're not really using, physical library books. And also I have trouble with that as well with the digital library offerings because a lot of times they don't have what I want to read. So this is not sponsored. I'm like a tiny person, a blip on the radar for BookTube, so I'm just telling you what I have. So currently what I am reading on Scribd or Scribed, I am reading the collected poems of Edna St. Vincent Millay. Now this is going to take me a long time to finish reading because it is I think almost 700 pages. It's saying I have 612 pages left. And that's because it's really, really long. She wrote a lot of poetry. Edna St. Vincent Millay, though, is one of my new favorite poets. I found her last year and I love her poetry. It's very beautiful. She is a 20th century poet, and I think she has a really beautiful and flowing sort of descriptive style that reminds me a lot of the poets of the Romantic era, particularly. So I would highly recommend that, and I'm sure I'll fill you in on that when I'm finished with it. I'm also reading my first kind of Hemingway book that I've read in a very long time. Ernest Hemingway, I mean. The first one and only Hemingway book that I have actually finished is The Old Man and the Sea. And I know it's, he's one of the authors that is incredibly controversial. A lot of people don't like him, but I want to see what he's all about myself. And it's been well over probably 8 years since I read The Old Man and the Sea. And so I am reading A Moveable Feast, and that's because it's all about France, and namely Paris. And if you know me well, you know I love France. Haven't been there, but I want to. So I thought this would be a good way to be an armchair traveler. And so far I am enjoying it quite a bit. I really like the raw writing style of Ernest Hemingway quite a bit. I also am reading a book called Care of the Soul. This is by the author Thomas More, and not Thomas More as in M-O-R-E, the older author. This one is much more recent, but basically it's a self-help book. So far I'm enjoying it. Maybe a little bit too much for some people. I don't really even know how to describe it, but I'm enjoying it so far. That one is kind of like you have to read it to know what it's about. I am listening to the audiobook of Virginia Woolf's The Waves. Now, Virginia Woolf is an artist. So many loud cars. And I called her an artist again. Do you see how this happens to me a lot? Goodness. She's one of the authors that I enjoy her work, but I haven't read enough to have a really strong opinion about her. And I actually have a physical copy of The Waves that my family gave to me for Christmas a few years ago, and I really want to actually read it. So I'm actually about halfway through it, and I will say I'm kind of tempted to read it in the actual book because the person reading the audiobook is kind of ruining it for me. Not a huge fan. So I'm gonna try to finish that soon. And my next book that I'm reading on my iPad is Joan Didion's The White Album, which is a compilation of essays. If you haven't read Joan Didion, do yourself a favor and give it a try. I read 2 of her books last year, and I'm probably going to do a whole video about her. There's also a really awesome documentary about her on Netflix, if you have it. It's called The Center Will Not Hold. And I just love the way that she writes. And again, I want to save this for another video, but If you really like nonfiction, memoirs, or any kind of essays, I think she's really fascinating. Another 20th century mainly author. And I think it's really interesting as well because these essays in particular really describe the 1960s in a very interesting way. And so each essay covers a different topic that's particularly relevant for the 1960s. So I'm about halfway through that and I'm loving every minute of it. So I'm gonna pause here and take a sip of my coffee because I need it. And the last thing I'm reading on my iPad before I actually get to the physical books is The Letters of Joan by N.T. Wright. Quite a leap in subject matter. So if you aren't familiar, N.T. Wright is a very popular author of a lot of different sort of theological texts. And I have only read one other book by him, and it was called After You Believe. I think it's been a couple years since I read it, so I could be wrong, but I think that was what it was called. And this is essentially a Bible study guide to go with the Letters of John. And so far, I'm loving it. It's super short, so I'm actually not that far from being finished with it. But I really, really like it. So, you know, if that is something you're interested in, I would highly recommend. I do enjoy his writing. So let's move on to the physical books. If you're still sticking around and you haven't lost hope in me yet. So one book I really want to get back to reading is Wives and Daughters. I had started this in March and I read like almost halfway through. This is my little cute bookmark. It's like, I can't even show it to you. It's a page marker that is this cute one I got from Daiso last year. It's so cute. But I made it really far and I love the TV series of it. I grew up with it, so I really want to finish this. I love Elizabeth Gaskell and I was loving it, but I was getting kind of mad at the characters, so I paused reading and I haven't really gotten back to it, so I really want to concentrate on it. And even though it's like humongous, it's actually really easy to read to me, and the conversations are just lovely, and I love the descriptions as well. So this is one I'll definitely put a review up for once I actually finish it. So another book I started a whole lot longer ago that has been quite a trial from the get-go is someone recommended me this book, and one of my best friends, she told me, please read this book. I really, really want you to watch the TV series with me. And apparently her mom had read it in the 70s, and apparently my parents read it in the 70s. I had never heard of it before, but it is called The Thorn Birds. This is my copy here, and it is one of the most difficult books I've read, and it's not because it's hard to read, it's because it is just gut-wrenching. So I have started reading and stopped reading this book several times since last December, and so I really want to make more progress in this one, but it has been quite a struggle. So I'll keep you posted on this one. It's supposed to be this like incredible epic. It's a multi-generational sort of story, kind of like Edna Ferber, that sort of thing, if you're familiar with her. Colleen McCoullough definitely was inspired by people like Margaret Mitchell, I think, personally. And so the story takes place originally in New Zealand and then it moves to Australia, but not really wanting to tell you more than that because so much happens, it's just not even funny. I just realized I haven't really been telling the plots for these, but that's because I have so many of them to go through, and I'm sure I'll do a review when I finish them, so never fear, we will get there. So the next book that I'm reading right now is one that I picked up because I adore these people so much. So I love watching home reno shows. I'm one of those people, and I really enjoyed Fixer Upper, but when Hometown came out on HGTV, which I don't even have HGTV, I just watch it on like Hulu and whatnot when it comes out, but I loved this, and this is because my family's actually from Mississippi, and so we love seeing this show in Mississippi. And so it is the Napier's book, Make Something Good Today. And I just love the Napiers. I think they're a lovely couple. I love their daughter. They're so cute. And I love watching their show. And unsurprisingly, this has been a delight to read and I am loving it. So I'm hoping to finish that soon. I'm just kind of savoring it. And the pictures itself or themselves are enough to make me just want to keep reading it, but it is a memoir. It's just talking about how they got to where they are right now. So I'm enjoying this a lot, and I'm sure I will have a review of that with a wrap-up I do later on. And don't worry, I'm getting close to being finished. I promise. So one thing I like to read one page of every day that I started this month is this book. And that is because I am a huge fangirl for the Adams family, not the other Adams family. I'm talking about the Abigail and John Adams. And yes, it's in that order. Abigail's the best. And I read a lot of biographies about them, and I love just learning about them. And I was lucky enough to visit their home in, well, multiple of their homes actually in Massachusetts. And I just really wanted to read this because it's basically a collection of her quotes from over time, and they're separated by topic in alphabetical order. So, for example, I'm just picking a random one, economics. So it has quotes from letters that she wrote about economics. And then you flip forward more, life's difficulties. And so I just love it. I love reading about her, and reading her writing in particular is so much fun. She's such a sassy person. If you haven't read her writing before, you should. She's awesome. And I don't have anything really too much against John Adams. I think he's fine, but she's better in my opinion, so check it out. I'll probably do a separate video about books about the Adams later because I love them. I could talk about that a lot. So another kind of more religious topic book that I'm reading right now is one which, again, might not appeal to everyone, even if you are more on the Christian religious side of things. And that is this book here, which is Sinners in the Hands of a Loving God. If you're familiar with the sermon, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, I believe. I can't even believe I forgot that. That was such a huge thing growing up. But this is basically the underlying part of it says, The Scandalous Truth of the Very Good News. And it's by Brian Zahnd. And this is one that my twin recommended to me. And he was telling me that this is a really interesting perspective on the theology of heaven and hell. So not very light reading, but it's very interesting. And this is one I started last summer and didn't finish. And I really want to finish it. So I'm making good progress. I've only got this much left. So super easy to read, very interesting. Don't know why I didn't finish it. So I'm finishing that soon. You can hold me accountable. And then this is another one like the Abigail Adams book that I read a little bit of every day. So hopefully this is making y'all a little bit less stressed about my reading patterns. But this is called Daily Rituals, Women at Work. And if you watched my BookTube newbie tag all the way through or just watched it at all, then you will remember me talking about it. It's this beautiful, beautiful book, and it is really fascinating. It says 143 artists on how they paint, write, perform, direct, choreograph, design, sculpt, compose, dance, etc. So this is by Mason Currey. And I thought that was interesting because it's all about women, but it's written by a man. So he actually has this whole introduction trying to explain why he did this, and it was kind of humorous. But I am about a third of the way through this, and it has been so fascinating. I will say that the male perspective is very obvious in a lot of ways, because I think some of it is a bit sensationalized for sure, and he focuses on kind of, to me, unnecessary things. But regardless of that, I think it's really interesting, and he focuses on a lot of people I've never heard of before, which I like to think I'm very educated on the artistic crowds of people, especially in like the 20th century, which I think this focuses on that. And so I've been kind of impressed that it's a lot of different things. So this is a fun one to read, a couple of profiles before I go to bed. So this is another one I enjoy. And thank you to my older sister who gave this to me. I love it so much. It was a lovely surprise, and I'm very much enjoying it. So thank you. Now, last, but definitely not least, I am working on reading this book, and this is going to be another one of those that I read a very small amount of every day, and that is because it is a whopper, and it's very dense, but it is a book that's important to me because I actually studied in Scotland for a year, which I'm sure I'll talk about more in another video. I don't live there anymore, but my family is also of Scottish descent, and so I'm really interested in the history of Scotland. And so this book in particular is really interesting to me, especially because where I studied was definitely a really important area in Scotland for this person. So as a person who really enjoys historical biographies, I'm also enjoying this so far, even though I'm like not very far into it. So it is Antonia Fraser's Mary Queen of Scots, and I absolutely adore this edition. It's so pretty. I cross-stitch, and so does my mom, which, by the way, if you want to see a really cool channel, you should go check out my mom's channel. I'll link it below. She does floss tube, so she's actually working on this sampler right now, which is so cool. And that's why I cross-stitched, because my mom. So but this is basically a story from the very beginning to the very end of Mary Queen of Scots' life. It's non-fiction, so it's the straight facts as best Antonia Fraser could put them together. And it's supposed to be like the biography of Mary Queen of Scots. And I think there are so many people who get confused that there's Bloody Mary and Mary Queen of Scots are two completely different people. So if you're wondering, you know, anything about her, definitely go look her up. It's very interesting, but don't base what you believe off of the new movie with Saoirse Ronan and Margot Robbie. From what I've heard, it's not very accurate. So this is definitely going to be your best bet. But this is a copy that my twin and my little brother gave me for Christmas a few years ago, and it's one that I really want to read and finish this year, so that's definitely a goal of mine. And it's actually quite easy to read. I just get really intimidated by it, which is kind of weird considering I'm reading a lot of big books right now. But anyway, I think that's it. I probably forgot something, but hopefully this was somewhat interesting, and I'm gonna go try to get some reading done now. So thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to hear what you're reading about. Please comment below and tell me what you're reading about. I want to know. Might be the next thing I read, so you never know. But I will see you guys in the next video, and thanks so much for watching. Bye!